TFA, what is up? What is going on? We are back. We had so much fun with you guys last week. We're like, hey, we got to do this for week 2. So if you're watching right now, please drop your start sit questions, anything else you guys have in the chat, and we will get to those as we start filtering through the news and these matchups and the game previews and everything else. Joined by 2 of the 3 of the DFS DGen Nation pod. That is Ryan Williams at Ryan Alexander _W. Did I get that right?
You got that right, my man.
Right off the top, 1 for 1. Kev is here. The other third, the other 1/3 of the tripod there, holding up the DFS DGen Nation pod, also with the TFA flagship pod, and then we have half of the TFA Dino Show, and that is Jobby Referees at NFL Robbie. So, boys, as we start this off here, what are you guys most looking forward to for week 2? Whether it's a matchup, whether it's some answers you hope we get. Ryan, what are you looking at for week 2 here?
Man, I knew you were going to start with me. I'm just excited to see how the offenses, come back out. I mean, really, we were coming into the season with the pandemic and kind of all the BS, and there was just, how are these offenses going to look? And we kind of saw the Thursday game with the Chiefs and the Texans, and it was like, oh, maybe offense are going to take a step back. And then we come on Sunday and there's like 80-something touchdowns scored. And it was just like, what are you talking about? Like, who cares about preseason? Who cares about all this stuff? Just let them get to the game. So, we have a ton of high totals on this week too. And so I'm just curious to see how these offenses bounce back from coming back to the first week. We saw a couple of the soft tissue injuries that are affecting some of the players, some of these high ankle sprains, but for the most part, like, I feel like we dodged a bullet as compared to what we saw when these guys take the field in a normal preseason, where you're having guys tear their ACL and whatever else happens that they're missing the whole season. And I feel like we're really, fortunate, I feel like right now, to have a good 2020 start to the season. So I'm just hoping that keeps up.
Robbie, what say you?
I think week 2 is like the hardest week to figure out, because we've had an entire off season of news, and then you have 1 week of stuff happening, and sometimes it goes completely against the grain of what you thought was going to happen, and sometimes it kind of follows along those trends. But more often than not, it just creates a lot of confusion. So I'm really trying to look for what we start to build in terms of these offenses, especially when we're talking about competition, right? Like Singletary and Zach Moss, like, they both look, very pedestrian week 1. How does that backfield start to shape up in week 2? Malcolm Brown and Akers, is Corey Davis for real? Like some of these where we've seen a week 1, something has happened. Some of it hasn't given us a lot of news, and some of it's just completely gone against the grain from the entire offseason. How does that stuff start to funnel out and shape up to give us more information? I know Kev talked about it on Wednesday's pod. We need about like 6 weeks of data to really start to figure out exactly how these offenses are going to go. Well, we don't get that until week 6, so we have to try and do the best we can with what we have. And so I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting some more answers after this week.
Kev, anything that you are particularly looking forward to for week 2 as we enter?
Yeah, Dan Arnold week, boys. Let's go. Fire up to Dan Arnold.
Oh my God!
It only took 4
every
minutes.
Week.
But
every week.
We're here. We're here.
Just like clockwork. Yep. Just like clockwork. That train's never late.
Fire him up.
So CJ Lang, TFA Zone, is jumping in, wants to know Ruggs or Edwards. He says it's a plus matchup versus the Saints, but I am not entirely sure about that. But between the two, are you guys starting either of these?
Not for me. And Ruggs has had that knee issue. He's been out of practice until yesterday. So that's kind of scary. And then we're still searching for Brian Edwards. Cody, if you've found him on any milk cartons anywhere, let us know.
Put the APB out for him. He's gone missing.
It's so disappointing. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not really starting either of those guys either. Nathan Have 14 on Periscope is joining us. You guys going with Rojo or Miles Sanders in PPR this week?
I love this question. You have to go Sanders for where you drafted him. You have to be excited for having him, come back into this game. Boston Scott looked like he was lost last week. This offensive line wasn't healthy as well last week going against that Washington defense, and now here they have a matchup against the Rams where they're going to look and try and get pressure the same way Washington did. So I think that, we could see a lot of flat routes, a lot of, short passes going to Miles Sanders from a PPR standpoint, and really nobody else there to hurt him for, a target share as far as the backfield goes. And we were talking pre-chat about, Rojo from a DFS standpoint, me and Kev, that is, and Kev was bringing up the point about that muddy backfield in Tampa Bay. That's tough. So I think that Rojo, because of how Tampa Bay might look to attack, he probably, could find his way into the end zone. But as far as PPR goes, I don't know how much the upside is over Sanders.
Yeah, with Miles, if you're listening and you're looking for a prop to bet, his over-under for receiving totals was only like 21.5 yards on FanDuel, I believe.
Okay.
That kind of, like, I saw that and I was like, oh, I have to hit that. But then I was like, wait, why is this? Because there were only, I think, maybe 5 games that he didn't hit that last year. And obviously his usage didn't tick up till like I think like week 3 or 4. So, I still took the over on that. With Rojo, there are 2 injuries to the Carolina defensive line that is already not good. Their stud, Penn Stater, first-round pick, Gross Matos is out, as well as Kawan Short. So, Kev, do you have an opinion on this, Rojo or Miles?
Yeah, it's Miles Sanders. It sounds like the Eagles got too cute last week and not playing him, and thought that they could just easily, steamroll the Redskins, which is why they did not play him. It sounds like he was good to go last week, so I have no concerns about the injury or reoccurring. And like I said, like with Rojo, like there's no way I can sit him or play him over Miles Sanders. I just think that backfield is way too muddled. Rojo still only played 45% of the snaps last week, something like that. So that is not something you're looking for. I think he is more of a lower end RB2. It is a great matchup against the Panthers. They are missing Chris Godwin, but I just think that that could go so many different directions. Leonard Fournette getting more opportunities, more involved in the offense. Ronald Jones also, I think he only had half the goal line touches as well, which is a problem for somebody who's mainly a between the tackles grinder, because he's not really a pass catcher. I think we've seen that again. He only had 3 targets last week. That's not what you're looking for. So, Miles Sanders could get 10 targets today, and it wouldn't surprise me. So, yeah, I would be Miles Sanders, and it's not close.
Mason is with us in the YouTube chat. He needs 2 of these: Corey Davis, Darius Slayton, Mark Ingram, John Brown. Robbie, start off with you. What 2 are you going with here?
Yeah, it's so hard to trust Mark Ingram. Kev's just talking about snap share. He was behind J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, they had a really good game script in that second half. Now, that same thing could happen against the Texans, I'm not sure, but he is so risky if he doesn't get in the end zone. John Brown, I do not think the Bills are going to throw 46 times or 43 times, however many times they threw in week 1. So I think that target share or target volume, I think, goes down. I'm probably going with Corey Davis and Slayton here. Slayton is that boomer bust, right? Like, he doesn't have a fantastic matchup, I would say, against that Bears secondary, but I think he has just enough where I'll roll out Corey Davis with A.J. Brown out, and then Darius Slayton.
Ryan, you were nodding. Are you in agreement there?
Yeah, I think so. Corey Davis, just without A.J. Brown out, like you're just going to be kicking yourself. The targets should just be there with, Adam Humphries there to compete. Jonnu Smith looked great week 1, but the way that Corey Davis was being utilized in that game against Denver, I just think you have to go back to the well here. And then Darius Slayton, of the next 3 guys, he just has the highest upside, I feel like, and I would say that you want to monitor, I guess, the Tate situation, because Tate did miss that game in week 1. I'm not sure what his status is? He's out. Okay.
Out.
So yeah, I mean, you're looking at this Bears secondary here where, they can give up big plays. And I know the Lions are kicking themselves last week because they weren't able to capitalize in the way that they thought they would be able to. But, Slayton just faced a stout Pittsburgh D who was able to get loose. The Bears are, dealing with injuries right now. I think Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn are questionable. So deep shots in this game, I think, should be plentiful for the Giants. It pains me to say, but, Slayton would be my second pick there as well.
Correction, I lied. It has him as questionable.
Okay.
I see that now. That is Hate is questionable.
Yeah, and I don't.
Yeah, I thought I saw this morning that he was expected to play. So.
Okay, so yeah, I mean that would definitely I guess cap his upside a little bit, but then I agree with Robbie on Mark Ingram and John Brown too. It's just you just don't know what you're going to get from the Bills week in and week out. It is frustrating when you look back at week one and see that Josh Allen missed John Brown on a wide open shot that would have been a touchdown. And those plays are going to happen. But when you're talking about Stephon Diggs being there too, and him being a deep threat as well, maybe John Brown gets 2 or 3 of those shots a game, capped. But other than that, he's not going to be a possession receiver. And Slayton's just been so good with Daniel Jones. So I'd still be apt to go there.
Another Mark Ingram question from Gerald Leone, 562. Mark Ingram or Singletary, and then he also has a follow-up after that. Who are you guys going with between Ingram or Singletary? Kev?
Neither. I'd probably go Mark Ingram. I think that he could probably find his way into the end zone. I think he probably gets a little more usage. I think people are probably going to overreact a little bit to how much opportunity he got last week. I think it had a lot to do more with the fact that they were steamrolling the Browns and they wanted to probably get J.K. Dobbins a little bit more opportunity against live action. So I think that Mark Ingram would be the play.
Then he needs 2, Allen, Davis, Miller, or Chark.
Scott Miller. Okay, I was going to ask what Miller that was, Scott or Anthony. I mean, you're starting Chark every week. I feel like of that offense, and they should be in a position where they have to throw a lot. So I like Chark. I mean, outside of that, that's where it kind of gets muddied. I guess you're liking Scott Miller for the fact that Chris Godwin's going to be out, but if you're buying into what Arians is saying and them just wanting to force feed Mike Evans the whole time, who the hell knows what's going to happen there? It always, playing Corey Davis just always makes you kind of feel sick to your stomach. But I would have to go there. I feel like so Davis and Chark would be it for me. I can't trust Allen with Tyrod back there.
No, I was going to say Scotty for the ceiling and then Davis for the floor.
Go ahead, Kev. I see you trying to jump at the bit.
Well, no, I just think I don't know. I mean, I think it would be Keenan Allen and Chark for me.
Yep.
I think is what it would be. Like I get it. Tyrod Taylor looked terrible last week, but they're going to be like that was also a completely different game. It was super close. It was a tight game. Like the Chiefs they're going to have to throw the ball to keep up. They're not going to be able to sit here and pound the rock the entire game against the Chiefs. The Chiefs could go out and put 28 points up in the first half. And so they're going to have to throw the ball. There's going to be a lot more opportunity there. I think Keenan Allen gets more involved. Keenan Allen has historically torched the Chiefs, and it should be mentioned that the Chiefs are going to be missing most of their secondary. They are starting L'Jarius Sneed, who is a 5th-round pick, who's one of their starting corners. Shavarius Ward fractured his hand last week's game, so they're going to be without him. So they're going to have Rashad Fenton. So I mean, they have very little depth at corner. Rashad Breeland is also out in that game because of suspension. So there's going to be room there for the wide receivers to eat. So, getting action on Keenan Allen and rightfully so Mike Williams if you own him is probably a smart move, because this is a game they're going to have to throw the ball. And because if it doesn't work out this game and this passing attack can't get going, you might be seeing Justin Herbert as early as next week.
You guys also have some injuries on the defensive line as well, right? Is it Okafor is out, and I think you're missing Saunders as well?
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, just to touch on that game, a hot waiver pickup last week, Joshua Kelly. Would you feel comfortable starting him if you needed to due to injury or whatever else? Would you start Kelly in the flex just because?
I think you could, yeah. I mean, because Justin Jackson's also out, so you're not worried about that. So it's really just a two-man backfield. Like I honestly think that Joshua Kelly is going to end up being the Melvin Gordon of this offense. Like I think that's what it's trending towards, and I think we could end up seeing where Austin Eckler continues to play the same role that he did, because I just think Joshua Kelly is better suited. I mean, Joshua Kelly looked really good last week. Had a lot of really solid runs. So he's not going to have the pass volume that Melvin Gordon had in that offense last year, because I just don't think that that's something that we're going to see from this team. But because obviously Phillip Rivers targets his running backs at just an insane rate. But yeah, I think Joshua Kelly's a decent flex option if you had to play him.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off that in that I think this is one of the matchups where I'd stay away from Joshua Kelly. I mean, Kev just talked about he's not going to maybe be that receiving back, and that's where Eckler shines. I think that game script that we all think is going to happen, where the Chargers are chasing points, you can see Josh Kelly have maybe only 6 to 8 carries in this game, and if he doesn't produce on that little volume, he's not going to be getting the receiving work, or at least the majority of the receiving work. So I think he's a very risky flex if you had to, maybe, but there's just a ton of other guys. I think there's just a ton of flex options just because of all the injuries. Anybody in this Atlanta Cowboys game, I think, is going to be good. I see the question up there. CeeDee Lamb is someone who I'd start over at Josh Kelly. So, I would say
it
Josh
would
Kelly.
really depend on it would depend on who you had. Like, I'm definitely starting CeeDee Lamb over Joshua Kelly for sure. For reference, I have Joshua Kelly ranked 36th among running backs, so I have him as a low end RB3. So.
Ryan, going to come at you with this question. TS is in the YouTube chat, wants to know Deontay Johnson, the aforementioned CeeDee Lamb, or Anthony Miller in PPR.
Woo. Yeah, that's a tough one too. I mean, Miller would be the third for me, so I think it's really between Deontay and Lamb. Lamb, it looked encouraging at the beginning of that game. You're seeing him. They're running 3 wide receiver sets a lot there in Dallas, and so you're looking at this Atlanta secondary, which does not scare you at all. All these like Lamb, Gallup, and Cooper should all be able to eat equally. So I do like that. But for me, I think I would go Deontay Johnson at the top first. Both him and Juju Smith-Schuster were on the injury report early this week. They were, limited to start, but then they got full practices on Friday. But Deontay Johnson, it just looked so encouraging against that game. With that game against the Giants, he saw 10 targets to Juju 6. Big Ben was just looking to force feed him like any way that he can. And we know that in the past, if we're going to, get the traditional Ben Roethlisberger, and Cody, you're the Steelers guy, right? So he loves, to just throw the ball to these guys. And so the way the target share that Deontay is expecting to get, where it's pretty much just Juju ahead of him, I would definitely feel more confident with him when you're talking about a Lamb who, I think he's definitely in a good spot here. But, if he's in a good spot, then how great of a spot are Cooper and Gallup too? And they could just, really soak up all the work there, including Zeke.
Yeah, the thing that's going in Johnson's favor is the fact that there are a lot of injuries across that Steelers offensive line. If you were watching that game against the Giants, they were using Deontay on a lot of those like quick slants and kind of crossers over the middle. So that would seem to bode well for him. I mean, they put Zach Banner on IR. They're starting second or third year kid out of Western Michigan, Chooks. I can't even remember his. We just call him Chooks around here because that's his name is too hard to say. Stefan Wisniewski is out, so injuries across that line. Connor apparently is going to go. I don't know. I would just be avoiding that backfield for this week for sure. This is the reason why I was saying that I was a little hesitant on Benny Snell because of this exact reason. If Connor is healthy, they're going to give him the workload. How long does he stay in the game? Is it 6 carries? Is it 16? I don't know. But for me here, I think I'm going to roll Lamb just because of the upside. With Amari Cooper battling whatever injury he is, between the foot, ankle, it kind of seems to be up in the air with whatever he's dealing with. And, we saw him got these injuries out last year, but that's also whenever we saw Michael Gallup really step up and start to get his shine and start to get the notoriety that he got toward the end of the year. So going with that, and then Dallas is also out one of their starting cornerbacks, Anthony Brown. So this should be the game that we thought we were getting last week with Dallas and Rams. It should be completely wide open, a lot of passing volume. So hopefully that helped you out there. We're going to keep moving on here. Miles wants to know, in a standard league, needs 2, John Brown, Juju, Hilton, or Metcalf. Kev, what say you?
I would go Juju and Hilton. I would feel like more than likely that DK Metcalf is probably going to see a ton of Stephon Gilmore. I don't love that matchup for him, and yeah, there's no way I can play John Brown over him over either of the other two. So it really would come down to Juju, Hilton, Metcalf for me, and I just don't like that matchup for Metcalf. So it would be Brown and Juju.
Especially in a standard league, I think those two also have the best chances of scoring as well. Any disagreements between those two?
No, I'd agree there, and I just like to point out the Hilton matchup. I just think those, Ryan had a really good piece, some DFS buys, and he noted Paris Campbell as a really good guy to pick up, and I think T.Y. Hilton for that same reason. Cam Dantzler's out for the Vikings. They're starting rookie Gladney, and they're starting Holton Hill, who I think is a third-year guy, and he was literally the 84th, which was the last cornerback ranked by PFF for week 1. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers torched that Vikings secondary, so I'm going to go T.Y. Hilton and Juju there.
Shannon 3 Hartley in the Periscope wants to know, MT, Galladay, Godwin out in Dynasty this week. That is rough skating there. Do you like Ayuk or Shenault more?
Yeah, but Ayuk couldn't have come at a better time, though, because they're missing so many pieces there with George Kittle out, no
Right.
Debo. So, I mean, Ayuk could end up seeing 10 to 12 targets today. Like, I like Ayuk. It's 100% for me. I think Shenault, I like him for, long-term perspective, but just for this week, I still think they have a lot of weapons there between, Chark and for the brand, Keelan Cole, and, so... it's Brandon Ayuk. Like, I really like Brandon Ayuk, and I think that he should easily be some. I think he could be a wide receiver 2 today, but at worst, I think you're looking at a solid flex play. So
I would just caution against the wide receivers there. I don't think the 49ers are going to have to throw that much against this Jets
they're
team.
probably
honestly.
not. No, I don't think the volume is necessarily has to be there, but there's just nobody else to throw the ball to in that offense. So I mean. Saying that he gets 8 targets, I don't think is out of the right range of possibility, and I just think that's probably a little bit higher than what you can expect for Shenault today. So,
Right.
I do not think whatsoever. I don't think this game is going to be where the 49ers are going to have to throw the ball 40 times today. Like, I don't think that's going to be the case at all. But I do think Ayuk is somebody that is likely to see the lion's share of the targets.
Another Ayuk question. Are you flexing Singletary or Ayuk?
Singletary for me. I'm just worried about that volume for Ayuk. He's been out for weeks and weeks. They're just the volume I don't think is going to be there. And they don't have other options, but I mean, we could talk about 8 targets or we could talk about 3. I mean, I just don't see any upside playing there. I will go Singletary.
Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I would probably go Singletary too. The way that the Bills are going to be able to move this ball, in the matchup is just by, getting down the field. Josh Allen's going to have a ton of opportunities to get them down the field. And you're looking at the red zone usage, as we talked about earlier, between Singletary and Moss, and you're hoping that Singletary can cut into some of the Zach Moss work, because Moss got like 8-1, I think it was, but Singletary's he was still on the field, so you're hoping that the snap share is there, and just Ayuk, like Robbie's saying, I mean, I think maybe he can see some work with all the injuries that are out there, but you just don't know. And plus, I will say about Ayuk is that Sanu was just signed. Granted, it was off the street, but he's reunited with Shanahan there from their days in Atlanta. I think they're excited to get him back and get in there. And
if he could,
you're not Kyle Shanahan though.
The Patriots. If he couldn't make the Patriots roster, I don't know what to say, because
Shanahan might be the whisperer though, Kev. You don't. I mean, we see this all the time with the coordinators bringing in their guys, from where they've been before, and the fact that he's coming in off the street, like he's not coming in off the street on a weekend just to sit there on the bench and go out there and pat Ayuk and Board on the back and just say go out there and get them, guys. Like no, he's out there to play.
It's two things. It's one. I don't know why they hate Dante Pettis so much. I don't know why they don't give that man any opportunity, like none. Like the hype train for Dante Pettis last year was so high, and to crash as hard as he has, like and to have no opportunity, to get nothing. Even last week when they had nothing with Ayuk out and still got no opportunity. But yes, it's Brandon Ayuk. I'm still going Brandon Ayuk there.
Kelly Trees 3 wants to know, Ryan, I'm going to toss this one to you with part of your team in this matchup, Goddard or Ingram in standard. Ingram kind of worries me because I think Roquan Smith can hang with him. With standard, who are you rolling with there?
Yeah, for standard, I think you still have to feel pretty good about Goddard and the work that he's seeing there, and just the way that they're running out the 12 personnel there. Goddard's looking to carve out a role for himself, even with Zach Ertz being there. It's very encouraging. And then, Evan Ingram last week, I don't know what was going on with him. Like, it just did not seem like he was all there into the game, in a matchup where he was still seeing targets. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I can't remember, but I do just remember watching that game and being like, how is Evan Ingram still have only 2 points right now? This is ridiculous. Like, he was getting targets all over and just could not find rhythm with Daniel Jones there. And like you said, the linebacking corps, I think they'll try and, cap the short plays against the Bears. And that's kind of why I'm on guys like Slayton, because I think the deep ball will be there for them. But, as far as just standard goes, for sure, I would go Goddard. You're pretty much wanting to play Ingram in PPR formats when you think he can see a target, significant target share.
I would say this is one matchup to maybe not overreact to week one. I think Goddard and Ertz will go back and forth a lot. Goddard obviously looked amazing week one. And Ingram, like Ryan said, just looked the exact opposite. He had a couple drops, 9 targets, only 2 receptions. But I do think that he can kind of be that safety guy for Daniel Jones. Obviously, they're going to take their shots. This Bears defense isn't the most ideal matchup, but I wouldn't go away from Ingram just yet. Either one of those guys will be great, but I'll go Ingram just by a hair.
Varun has 2 questions for us. I'm going to lead off with the first one because I can't imagine we're going to differ on this at all. Melvin Gordon or Gallup in the flex? That is 1,000% Gallup. Next question, another flex question, Fuller or DJ Chark? Kev, who are you rolling with there?
This one's tough, actually, because earlier in the week, if you would ask me, I would have said it was DJ Chark. But as I've kind of dived into this week more and more, like, I actually think Will Fuller, I would play him over DJ Chark in this matchup. One, I think they're going to be playing from behind. They're going to have to throw the ball. I think that we saw that Will Fuller is this team's wide receiver 1 last week. And, yes, the secondary of the Baltimore defense is really good, but I know that guys like Marcus Peters can easily be beaten deep. They are ball hawking, defensive backs, and so I actually like Will Fuller. I have continued to move him up my rankings, and the ones I published this morning, I actually moved him, I think, at 16 or 17 overall. So I like Will Fuller quite a bit, and I would go Will Fuller, but I'm probably on an island by myself here.
You are. I would go Chark there.
I hate to agree with him, but I'm with Kev on the Fuller
Nice.
thing.
Yeah, I think Will Fuller is kind of that ultimate boomer bust. Now he looked completely different. We've talked
Right.
about it. He just looks like a different guy, different involvement this week. But yeah, I think this could be a bust week for Will Fuller. I'm definitely rolling with Chark. I think they're going to pass a lot to him. He didn't get, he was bailed out week 1 by that touchdown, but I think Chark gets more involved to the sadness of Kev there. It might take Keelan Cole's target share down just a tad.
Well, so the thing with that though is that they only threw the ball 20 times last week.
Right.
So I mean, you have to expect that's going to go higher.
Yep.
So I mean,
and obviously all of them are going to go to Keelan Cole. So
and this next question, I saw this earlier whenever it came in. Trey, I feel sorry for you because this is a gross situation to be in. Because I don't like either one of them. Like I know a lot of people want to play Snell today, but I think people are just expecting James Conner to be dead, and I think that's I does he get a little more opportunity? Sure, but I think if James Conner's healthy, he's going to continue to see the majority of the touches. So I think Benny Snell is a bit of a trap. But if I had to play one, I would play Fournette.
yeah, the question is for his RB2, Snell or Fournette.
Yeah, I think that. Go ahead, Ryan.
No. I was just going to say, Robbie, it's PPR. It's 1 point PPR. So I think you really feel more confident about Fournette there, just knowing that, the Steelers are going to run out Jalen Samuels when it's a passing down. If they're not, passing it to Connor. Snell really saw all of his touches on the ground last week.
Yeah, Fournette, I think, as much of a Rojo guy as I am, I think if they're getting inside that 5-yard line against this Panthers defense, just gave up 3 touchdowns to Josh Jacobs. Fournette has a really good opportunity to score this week, and he'd be somebody that if I was in this type of situation, I'd roll him out with some degree of confidence that there's a good chance for him to get in the end zone.
Got a little prop question here from Curry Kev on Periscope. Over under 3.5 receptions for Drake today. Does anybody have a strong feeling on that one? Like I feel like that line is probably right where it needs to be. I don't feel super strongly one way or the other. I guess if you were forcing me to do it, I might go under. But like this is just one where I would probably look elsewhere. Do any of you guys have a strong opinion on this?
I think they got the prop just about right for my DFS lineups. I pray that it's over because I love Drake today against this Washington team, and I'm just hoping that the way they were able to get pressure last week, and I believe the starting center is out for Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, too. So if they're able to get pressure, they could be looking to dump off to Drake. I would probably look to avoid it, but if somebody was like, you have to put money on it, I would take the over.
Our first Facebook comment, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasy authority, comes from Jake. Marvin Jones versus the Packers or Manny Sanders versus the Raiders? Kev is obviously locked into Manny Sanders, so we don't need to ask.
That is a motherfucking lie. It's Traquan Smith week. That's what this is. So it's Marvin Jones.
Ryan, who are you going with here between these two, Jones or Manny?
I would be apt to go with Jones, honestly. I mean, and just from the standpoint of like somebody who has a situation where Michael Thomas is out this week. They're on the road, the Saints, that is. And so this game against the Raiders, it just could be ugly. And I just don't want to be looking at my bench and seeing Marvin Jones, who's obliterated the Packers, has had good success against them in the past. And then you're hoping that Sanders can kind of get there for you on Monday. I just feel more confident that Jones will reach there. And it does feel a little bit point chasey to go with Emmanuel Sanders. Against the Raiders. I don't know. I mean, it like we said, we've only had 1 week sample size with some of these guys being in their situations. But I don't know how they're going to attack that that game without Michael Thomas being out there. So I kind of want to see it first.
All right, moving on. Cali Trees is back in a standard. Are you going with Cup or Anthony Miller?
Cooper Cup.
Yeah, Cup.
Cup, not close. I think he finds the end zone this week.
Cup.
We are all in agreement across the board there. KJW Watkinson in the YouTube chat wants to know: is Chris Thompson a sleeper or is he a bust?
Well, since James Robinson's there, that's a bust. I was surprised. I'll say I was surprised how little Chris Thompson was using the passing game, but I also think that now that they've also acquired Dario Gumbawale, I don't know. I'm not messing with Chris Thompson. And
Yeah,
James
I wouldn't
Robinson
do it.
as a beast too. So
Yeah, Neve wants to know at the flex, Montgomery or Singletary. It's Monty. Fire him up.
Yeah, fire up
Agreed.
D-Mont for sure.
Good fellas,
Don't-
I'm still not seeing your full question here. All I'm seeing is pick one. So if you just want to throw the players in again, we'll try to get to that since I know you've been rocking with us for a little bit here, waiting for your question to be answered. Sutton is now active. He is a go. We had a question earlier. I think maybe it was on a different YouTube video. But what are you guys doing with Sutton in this matchup with the Steelers? Obviously, just got announced that he is active. Are you firing him up if you have him, or are you looking to go elsewhere?
it's a tough matchup. I mean, the Steelers have one of the best secondaries in all football. His defense is really good. I don't know how it's going to be tough for the Broncos to move the ball against this team. We just saw what they were able to do against the Giants. I mean, they just made Saquon Barkley their bitch last week. What do you have, like 6 rushing yards or something? Something ridiculous or something like that. So it would really depend on what your other options were if I wanted to play him. Like, this is one of those situations where that if you had a better option, that I would probably look to sit him.
Yeah, it would depend on the options there for me, but this is definitely not a good matchup for him coming back in his first game of the season. But I am interested though to if he goes out there and duds this week and he hasn't played, he didn't play week 1 and has a bad game week 2, like he's a perfect buy low opportunity for me. So I'll be targeting Cortland Sutton definitely a lot if he goes out and disappoints.
Ryan, we didn't even get to ask you, how excited are you that Tariq Cohen has now been extended? You got to be super pumped about that. Allen Robinson, who needs a wide receiver 1? Let's get this RB2 his extension.
There's nothing more shameful than when you share a name with a guy who's just absolutely atrocious. And I have no idea what Ryan Pace is doing. Like, this guy is just absolutely it's ridiculous. Like, how are you even having conversations with somebody else on the team knowing that Allen Robinson just scrubbed your fucking team from everything on social media? And he's a stud. I mean, this guy is a stud. And you're going out there and extending Tariq Cohen, who already has a deal in place. It's so infuriating.
So this is the way I hope it plays out. I hope the Bears continue to lose some games. We get closer to the trade deadline, and the Chiefs trade for him. Let's make that happen. I would love to see A-Rob
That would be awful.
Correct the wrong of a few years ago whenever we signed Sammy Watkins over Allen Robinson.
Gross.
So we have a couple more actives, inactives rolling in. Tyron Smith, the Cowboys offensive lineman, is inactive for the 49ers. Obviously, Sherman was already on IR. Jason Verrett is now inactive as well. So just keeps adding to those injuries for the 49ers as they head east to take on the Jets. Got a question from Graham on YouTube. PPR, full PPR flex: Melvin Gordon, Paris Campbell, or Devontae Parker. For me, I'm firing up Campbell, and I'm not thinking twice.
Yep. Read Ryan's article, man. It's a good one, and Campbell's going to take advantage, I think, with Phillip Rivers. He had a really good target share week 1, and that secondary for the Vikings needs to be exploited.
Yeah, Tre'Davious White, probably not going to shadow, I don't feel like, but he'll definitely, be on Devontae Parker a good amount. And I mean, the Melvin Gordon situation, it just like, how can you play him with confidence this week, knowing what knowing what the Steelers were able to do against Saquon Barkley? I know that a lot of people are jumping at the bit to play him with Phillip Lindsay being ruled out, but it's just not a good spot whatsoever. So yeah, it's Paris Campbell for me by a long shot there.
Kev, agree, disagree?
Yeah, I don't like. I'm real. I would not want to play Melvin Gordon unless I absolutely had to. Like, it's just a terrible matchup. And like Ryan was saying, a lot of people think that because Phillip Lindsay's out that he's just going to get all the touches. I don't believe that. I think it's going to be I think Royce Freeman is much more involved than what people think.
Yeah, with Devontae Parker, you're talking about a guy who came into the season with a hamstring injury, left last week with a hamstring injury. Like, didn't even finish out the game. So that's the matchup plus the worrying about the hamstring injury popping up again. I would just that one for me is easily Campbell. Like I said, you have Pittman, who is questionable or doubtful at this point. Obviously, Jack Doyle is out with his injury. So you're really looking at Helton and Campbell to carry that team. Then obviously the running backs filtering in as well. So that one it's looking good for the brand. For as long as I talked about Paris Campbell in every single sleeper, undervalued show that we tried to spin over the offseason. So K. Ellis Talks is in the YouTube chat. 10-team PPR, no super flex. Almost every team has 2 QBs. The team is Stafford, Moore, Diggs, Woods, A-Rob, Henry, Cook, Sanders, Hurst, Andrews, Hunt, and Singletary. That is a nice team there. Would you trade Diggs, Singletary, and Stafford for Dak? Robbie, you are the this seems like a dynasty question. I would think. Robbie, who are you rolling with here on this trade? And you're the Cowboys homer, so
are we talking dynasty?
It would seem to have a team like that at this point. I would think so, right?
It's a 10 team. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking dynasty, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was just gonna say I hope it's dynasty because this would be a ridiculous redraft team.
Right. Yeah. If we're talking dynasty, that's not awful to give up. I'm not on Diggs for the outlook with the Bills. Obviously, he completely showed out. He said, be quiet, Robbie. He showed out week 1, but long term, I don't think the Bills will have the volume there. So if you're going to upgrade from a back end QB1, who's obviously up there in age compared to Dak, who I think will be signed long term for the Cowboys here soon, I would definitely look at doing this.
He said
it's
redraft.
Not a dynasty.
Then
it's redraft.
Then no, I would not do this for redraft.
That's what I was going. Yeah, that was my answer. Yeah, no.
Yeah. That's
if you want to do like Singletary and Stafford for Dak, I guess maybe if you wanted to do that, I guess that's probably an option. Yep, but there's no way that I'm including
take out a player, take out one of those guys,
or make them add somebody.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say make them add somebody because giving up 3 for 1 in redraft, like it's just not conducive, especially when it's just the quarterback on the other side. Like Stafford will definitely have weeks where he can, definitely get there and compete with what you're going to get from Dak. And, you drafted Diggs for his boom bust upside. I would try and get another player on the back end for that. And maybe you'll be able to, if Singletary goes out there in this game against the Dolphins that the Bills are, expected to win and he has a good game, you might be able to flip Singletary and Stafford just for Dak after this week.
So we finally got Goodfellas' question. He DM'd us on Twitter at @FF_authority. You can find us on there. PPR needs one of these. Got Edelman versus Seattle, Terry versus the Cardinals, Scotty Miller versus Carolina, or Paris Campbell versus the Vikes. So just needs one of them, full PPR. Again, Edelman, McLaurin, Scotty Miller, Paris Campbell.
F1.
He just needs one.
Just one.
Oh man,
Kevin, you're not worried about the potential shadow situation with McLaurin and Peterson?
Yeah, I think I talked about it on
He
the
doesn't
last.
say anything. He just shakes his head. I love it. Like, give a response, Kevin. Oh,
No,
man.
I talked about it on our Dynasty pod, but I think the overshadowing is a little bit overshadowed. They do a lot of zone these days. Patrick Peterson only shadowed, I think, in 6 of 16 games last year. So F1 had a down week last week, but he's the clear leader out of that. Even though we like Paris Campbell's matchup, I think it's hard to sit F1 here.
I wouldn't be able to sit him either. That's tough. As much as I love Paris Campbell this week, Terry McLaurin's upside is way, way higher.
Got
DJ Moore, DJ Chark, DJs.
So we got we need pick 2 here from Zai the Gemini. Maybe that's how it's rolling. Zai the Gemini. DJ Moore, DJ Chark, Corey Davis needs 2 full PPR.
Yeah, the DJs. You should not, in any week, you should not ever contemplate benching DJ Moore. I just week 1, I feel like we're going to look back on that and be like, this was a fluke. This was, Teddy Bridgewater getting his feet set with this offense. But DJ Moore should have a great season this year, and he's way too good to go out there and have performances like that. So
is that another way to say start your studs?
No, not I don't want to get into that because I think it does get a little bit muddled. But just like with Terry McLaurin, like when you draft these guys because of you're trying to project weeks that they're going to go out there and pop for you, and we want to sit these guys when they have one bad week, and it's like these guys are not going to go out there and put up massive games every single week. You're banking on the 1 week that you do have them, that they are going to return the massive upside to get them into those numbers to be a top 15 receiver, a top 20 running back, however the case may be. And if you keep just trying to chase, okay, he did it this last week for me, so I have to bench him now this week, that's just going to return negative EV time over time. So I don't want to necessarily say to start your studs because situations do matter, but at the end of the day, like, your studs are your studs. And if you can, if you are even remotely considering, that it's close, then you start them.
Philip jumping in was with us last week. Appreciate the interaction, the questions from you. Sutton or Slayton? That's Slayton for me.
Yeah, Slayton.
Yeah.
Robbie, agree?
Yeah, I think just the upside there. Sutton coming off injury, a more tough matchup, I believe, than what Slayton has. You got to hope that Slayton catches a boom, deep shot.
The thing with Slayton is that he was undervalued all offseason. Like, he was like a 9th round pick in most seasonal formats, which was ridiculous, which is what we talked about all offseason, that he should have been much higher. He should have been going way higher than what he was. He should have been going probably around wide receiver 26, 27, 28, somewhere in that range. Yeah, he was going at like wide receiver 40. Like, he was one of the best values.
Philip has another question. Needs 2 this time between DJ Moore, Slayton, Julio, Sutton. Think it's going to be Julio and DJ for us across the board?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Giuseppe rocking with us on Facebook. DJ or Hines PPR? I'm assuming this is David Johnson.
I don't care which DJ it is. I'm starting off. Whether it's Moore, Chark.
Go DJ.
You're going David Johnson over Hines in that matchup?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like David Johnson this week.
Parker or Chenault PPR? Robbie?
I don't love that. I think you got to go Parker there. I don't love it, but I will go Parker there.
See, okay. So these are the same questions that are coming in, right? So it's Parker or Chenault PPR, but then Perryman or Chenault. So I think Perryman is the one that you would be apt to play, or that I shouldn't say that I would be apt to play because of just the situation there with the Jets, with basically their whole offensive starting core is out. And Brashad Perryman had big games last year when he was going out there being the only guy. The Jets should be in a situation where they have to, play from behind and will be throwing a lot. It's Perryman or Herndon, basically, who should see, a lot of work from Darnold. And I feel more confident that Perryman will get there over both Parker and Chenault.
And I think it also should be mentioned as well as the 49ers secondary is wrecked right now. So to say that, I don't think it's necessarily insane to think that the Jets can at least keep this game somewhat close. With the amount of injuries that the 49ers have, do I think the Jets win? No. But do I think that they can at least keep it respectable? Yeah, I think that's certainly possible.
I think it is also on top of that worth mentioning. This Jets team, even with the cornerbacks up, 49ers could score 6 points. I'm not loving starting any of these guys that have been mentioned. Maybe take a look at your waiver wire, see if there's a Russell Gage, there's a Traquan Smith or somebody like that. I would be more apt if we had a guy with a better matchup to toss in there over these guys. If these are your only options, I think Perriman's maybe a dart throw there to hopefully get some yardage just based on the volume. But man, I'd really want to look at waiver wire and see if there's anybody else I could plug in.
Yeah, how would you guys rank? Would you take it Perriman, Chenault, and then Parker, or would you put Parker ahead of Chenault if you were ranking those three for Giuseppe?
Yeah, Perryman, Parker, Chenault for me.
Yeah, that's how I'd be.
Last question here from him: Teddy or Tanny?
Tannehill's kind of underrated, isn't he? This Jaguars.
Did you guys see their pace last week? Their pace last week was absolutely fucking insane. The fact that Derrick Henry had 31 carries and Tannehill still threw the ball 44 times or something like that.
They ran a lot of no huddle.
Yeah, what was insane. If that's going to continue to happen, because the biggest reason I wasn't as high on Tannehill this year was because I just felt like that pace was going to be really slow. They're going to try to feed run the ball, but if they continue this kind of pace, I don't know. And this is a great matchup too. I mean, obviously going against that Jacksonville defense, obviously they're not going to have AJ Brown, but it should be a really good week for Jonnu Smith. I love Johnny. He's a top 10 option this week at tight end, and with Corey Davis. So yeah, I would go Tannehill.
Yeah, but their pace and the Bills throwing it 46 times despite leading the entire game were two things that stuck out to me last week. Is just we're going full 2020 here, aren't we? Philip is back for his flex. Monty or Slayton?
I'll trust the volume with David Montgomery there. We saw Benny Snell tear up that Giants run defense. It's not the sexier of the two options there, but I'm going to trust the volume there.
David Montgomery has to pay off this week. Otherwise, you're concerned because you're looking at what Benny Snell did. Slow Benny Snell able to just carve up and have his way. And obviously, these guys, they'll game plan and they'll look at that and they'll try and, stop the box. But the way that, Mitchell Trubisky luck boxed into a win last week, playing against it, if he could play against the Lions every week, they'd go 16-0. But this is a get right spot for Montgomery. I'm going back to the well with him for me.
Kev, you were the Monty hater and the Slayton lover. Are you disagreeing there? Or are you rolling Slayton?
On brand. Going with Slayton.
We got Blazer Blue in the YouTube chat. Need one flex full PPR. Rager, Ingram, or Hardman? Give me Rager.
I can't overreact to week one for Ingram. I think he'll be back in the saddle and needs to be the guy with the most he'll have the most volume of these three.
So this is tough for me because Rager and Hardman both have really high ceilings, right? They are the ultimate boomer bust plays. Hardman could go out and have 3 for 90 and 2 touchdowns. But when speaking of volume, I think it has to be Evan Ingram. Just because same thing with Rager. They're both the same kind of guys where you kick yourself on the weeks that you don't plan, but they're so hard to predict and when those weeks are going to come. This very well could be for Hardman, but I could say that every single week playing in this Kansas City offense. So I would just try bank on the volume and go Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I honestly don't think their volume or their ceiling's any higher than Evan Ingram's. I mean, we've seen Evan Ingram go off for 10 targets and 12 targets before. So we're talking ceiling. I think Evan Ingram still has a higher ceiling than these guys. They're not going to get more than 4 or 5 targets. They're going to have to house one, and catch all 3 of their other targets, 4 of their other targets. So it's just Ingram for me.
Philip is also loaded at the tight end position. Jonnu Smith, Hawkinson, or Fant. Trade 2 of those because there's got to be someone that needs some tight end help in that league if you're hoarding onto all 3 of those. So that would be my first piece of advice. But Robbie, who you got here? Jonnu, Hawk, or Fant?
Isn't this the Philip that had just the absolutely stacked roster that Kev praised last week? I believe it was. So this guy's doing well. I will start Jonnu in a really good matchup. AJ Brown's out. It's clearly Jonnu for me. He's a top 10 guy for both Kevin and myself. Hawkinson is a distant second, and then Fant's a distant third. I do not like that matchup at all for Fant, especially with Sutton back in the fold.
Ryan, who you got?
Yeah, I think how they have it, right, or how Philip has it is it's Jonnu, Hawk, and Fant. I will say I do like. It would be a toss up. I'm getting a slight edge to Jonnu with AJ Brown being out, but Hawkinson without Galladay being out there, I think should see an increased work here, and they're going to have their time to put up points in this game going against the Packers. So yeah, I still slightly prefer Jonnu, but Hawkinson, it would be a tough consider for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's kind of between those two for me as well. I have Jonnu at 7 and Hawkinson at 9 this week. So yeah, I would go Jonnu, but it's super close because without Galladay out there, Hawkinson could see a much expanded workload. He had a good game last week too. I mean, what do you have, 16 fantasy points or something like that? Found the end zone. They both scored last week, so I like both of them a lot. So.
Another quarterback question. Static wants to know Drew Brees or Russell Wilson.
Wilson.
Yeah, well, Wilson for sure.
JJ was in the chat earlier, wanted to know, could he start Davis with AJ Brown out? You definitely can. Here are the options. Slayton and Sutton and Corey Davis fighting for the flex. Obviously, we've kind of talked about Sutton here a little bit. Slayton or Davis, who are you guys rolling with there?
You don't even have to ask me. Okay, just ask everybody else. You already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, he's going to say Slayton. It just really Golden Tate's status really just depends on how much I like Slayton. If Golden Tate is out, I love Slayton this week. Okay, Kev, yeah, you can chime in. But
I got something to say. Yeah.
But if Corey Davis, it's just one of those things that just it feels so trappy. Like it's so hard to just trust this guy. And I've tried to year after year after year, 4 years now in the league, and it's nice to root for him, and I'm happy that he went off week 1 so that you have this position. But it just does not feel good, and I don't really know what. Like, I feel like Slayton definitely has the higher upside here for sure. It's between Slayton and Davis. Sutton, I just couldn't do this week. I lean Slayton just because of the big playability there, and then it would be Corey Davis.
Okay, all I'm going to say is this, and rebuttal to what you just said, is Golden Tate does not affect, in my opinion, Darius Slayton at all. It's Sterling Shepard. They both are redundant assets. They're both kind of the same guy. They're both slot wide receivers. So for me, Golden Tate doesn't really affect all that much, him being in there versus versus Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton to me is the unquestioned one on this offense. And again, it keeps going back to me that I think that this is a question for people because I feel like that he should have been somebody that we were considering as a solid wide receiver 2 every single week. And he just went out and confirmed exactly what we should have known about him last year. Now, as far as Corey Davis, I like Corey Davis. If you went back and actually looked last year, at the end of last year, Corey Davis was actually seeing quite a bit of targets, and he actually out-targeted A.J. Brown over the playoffs and everything else. Like, so we should have seen this coming with Corey Davis. Like, this isn't surprising with Corey Davis of what's happening because we saw it at the end of last year and what was happening. So I like Corey Davis, but I'm still going Darius Slayton, but it's close.
Yeah, I'll go Corey Davis there. I just think he's going to get that volume. I do think Golden Tate does affect Darius Slayton. I mean, we saw last year that they all are right there with targets. I think they were 8 targets apart. I know there was injuries left and right on that team, but Slayton had his bad games last year. He had 7 games under 10 PPR points last year, so he's kind of boomer bust. He's not a block wide receiver 2.
Well, I mean, he was a rookie, so let's the guy that came out of nowhere that nobody was on, that nobody liked, that nobody talked about heading into the season.
You can say he's underrated, but he's not a lock wide receiver 2, at least for me. Like, he's going to have bad weeks.
Every wide receiver has bad weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, Robbie. A Machine 35 rocking with us on YouTube needs a wide receiver 2 and a flex. So out of his wide receivers, McLaurin or Chark for that wide receiver 2 spot.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I would go McLaurin here. I would go F1 for the wide receiver spot of those 2, and then I would probably go Rojo, to be honest with you, in the flex. I'm just not on Ingram, but.
And you're not playing with Chark. You're not messing with Chark.
Would you put Chark in the flex, or would you just go Rojo over Chark?
Yeah, I would go. Yes, that's right. I would go Chark. I would go Chark and McLaurin. Just play the wide receiver 2 and the flex spot with those 2 guys.
Kev, thoughts? You just roll with the 2 receivers there.
Yeah, that's how I would go. And watch, Ronald Jones is going to go out and just drop the hammer and score 30 points today.
Let's go.
JJ with the tight end question: Jonnu Smith or Chris Herndon?
Smith.
Yeah.
Yep.
As much as I want that answer to be Herndon, that
was our big debate this offseason, right? Chris Herndon versus Jonnu. And I was team Jonnu. Robbie's out of the race. He was Blake Jarwin, and he didn't make it past the first week. So,
R.I.P. Pour one out.
I made 25 snaps. 25 whole snaps, boys.
And what a hopeful 25 snaps they were. Meth wants to know DJ Moore or Terry McLaurin. A lot of TMC questions here. Who you guys rolling with? Kev, you were talking about starting all the DJs, but are you going Moore over McLaurin?
Absolutely.
Same.
Easy enough. Stefan wants to know standard league struggling with his second wide receiver spot and 1 flex, or I guess both wide receivers and 1 flex. So again, another DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Kupp, Corey Davis. And it is 2020, and somehow we are still talking about Adrian Peterson being a fucking thing. I give up. I give up.
I am inevitable.
It makes you sick.
The 2 wide receiver spots. Let's start there.
Frank Gore is still a thing. Frank Gore starting today. Who'd have thought that? 2020, Frank Gore starting running back.
Well, that's a Jets problem. That's not a Frank Gore thing.
How have we not? And I'm surprised I have not seen anybody talk about Frank Gore. Like, because everyone's like, no, it's not even.
Are you really?
Well, we got an Adrian Peterson question. I figured we'd at least have somebody ask about Frank Gore. I mean, he is the starting running back today. Or is it LaMichael Pirine? I don't know.
Pirine is active.
Avoid.
Oh, hell yeah! Like I just leave the spot blank before I played him.
Hey, that's your offense this year, Kev. Though, so you better hope.
Yeah, I'm riding with
this
them.
Week.
Hey, it's not that far off. 20. I think it's 21-17 so far, starting out. So we're not that far out.
I love it.
So for the 2 wide receiver spots, who you guys going with out of Moore, Keenan, Kupp, or Davis? Moore is obviously locked in. Who's going to be your second one behind Keenan, Kupp, or Davis?
Go 3 wide receivers there with Moore, KA, and Kupp. I have them all as top 20 guys. Corey Davis is worth a look. He's at wide receiver 25 for me, so I wouldn't argue if you want to go him over KA, but it's Moore and Kupp for sure, and then I'll go KA.
Yeah, definitely the wide receivers over Peterson here, even in standard. But yeah, it'd be DJ Moore and Kupp for me for sure, and then it would just depend on how I feel about KA versus Corey Davis. As much as I don't like to play Corey Davis, I just can't. I need to see it from Keenan with Tyrod before I can feel confident in rolling that out there.
Wilfred Chan joining us in YouTube needs 3 full PPR. So we got Drake, Bobby Forrest, Deontay Johnson, Manny Sanders.
Roll with those first 3 for me.
I was going to say, Woods and Deontay locked in. Who's your third between Drake and Sanders?
Deontay and Sanders, it'd be Deontay.
Yeah, Drake, Woods, DJ.
Got a defensive question from Philip. Robbie, I'm going to throw this to you. Are you feeling confident with the Titans this week, or would you be plugging in the Chiefs instead?
I do have the Titans as a top 10 defense. Now, Vic Beasley's out for them, but Chiefs are a team you have to fire up. We have them as top 5 consensus on TFA's rankings, and then I have them as my number 4 defense. So the Chargers are going to be playing catch-up, and I don't think that's a game that Tyrod Taylor necessarily thrives at, which is probably why Ryan's nervous about Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen might just gobble up a lot of those 8-yard catches, but I don't think they find the end zone a whole lot against that Chiefs defense.
SportsWiz wants to know Sutton, Parker, or Anthony Miller PPR, leaning toward Miller, but the Wiz has a feeling about Sutton. Are you guys feeling the Wiz? I'm rolling Miller here. What are you guys doing between these 3?
I think it's encouraging when you look at the target share that Miller saw last week. I mean, A-Rob is leaps and bounds the number 1, but as far as the number 2, he's competing with guys like Javon Wims and Riley Ridley, Jimmy Graham, and Cole Kmet. And you got to feel good about Trubisky going to Anthony Miller late there for the touchdown. So I do think that Anthony Miller has carved out a role for himself there in that situation as the leaps and bounds wide receiver 2.
Patel wants to know James Conner or Malcolm Brown PPR. I'm going to go Malcolm there. I can't trust James Conner. This kind of feels like the Pittsburgh's version of Matt Breida without all the fantasy glory.
We're oddly off of James Conner. I think he's practiced in full. When Pittsburgh declares a guy and they go with a guy, I think they roll with him until he gets hurt. Now the injury risk is always going to be there, but Malcolm Brown's already splitting work. They're going against a healthy now defensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles. I am very out on Malcolm Brown. I will go James Conner.
Yeah, I'm going James too. You have to feel, if they feel like he's healthy, then you have to feel confident that they think he's healthy. And they, even despite him having that, scare of the high ankle sprain on Monday, like they really tried to, he was keeping his helmet on for a majority of that first half, even after missing pretty much the whole second quarter. So if they feel, and that was a Monday game and this is now Sunday. So if they feel like they can run him out there, you have to be confident in playing him.
Wait. So let's talk about Malcolm Brown for a second. Why would you not want to play Malcolm Brown?
Because he's in a 3 running back committee and they're going against the Philadelphia Eagles who, defend the run pretty decently.
And they showed that against the Redskins. Obviously, Peyton Barber sneaks in 2 TDs there, but all of them had a very poor yards per carry. I do not think.
I mean, we're not talking about like a great.
No, but
I don't think Malcolm Brown is great.
But how do you attack the Eagles, Kev?
Here's the thing. Malcolm Brown had played 60% of the snaps last week. So I wouldn't go out to say that like it's a three-headed, like it's all split, right? Because he did have 60% of the snaps. He had 18 carries, 4 targets. He was 10th in weighted opportunities. If you look at his pass catching work, he ran 14 routes, which was 13th among running backs last week. His target share was also 14.3%, which was 13th among all running backs last week. His 10.3 yards per reception was 7th. Like, there is a lot to like here with Malcolm Brown. So I don't like.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's not enough.
So you
to
play
like,
him over James Conner?
No, you don't.
I definitely
He
do.
gets 100% of the snaps if he's healthy.
Dude,
Connor, if he's healthy, the snaps.
How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet on their points?
I'm playing him. I'll show you my DFS lineups. I'm playing him. I have 0 James Conner.
Kev's about to whip it out.
They don't care about your DFS lineups because you're risking money on that. They want to know about their lineups and who you're playing, and you cannot.
If I'm confident enough to risk money on it, I'm confident enough to play him.
You cannot, in good conscience, tell me that Malcolm Brown should be playing over James Conner. That's ridiculous.
I do like the complete 360 by Kev, though. You know, firmly on Acres. 1 week of production from Malcolm Brown.
Follow the opportunities. You got to follow the opportunities. You got to follow the opportunity.
But
yeah,
Kev, though,
going to have that opportunity. You're right. Follow the Pittsburgh model of one running back gets all the work plus PPR work. The other ones are going to split it. Darrell Henderson has another week of practice, another week of being healthy. He will be mixed in.
Get out of here with Darrell Henderson.
He'll get more than six snaps.
One thing, Cody, because I know we got to get to these questions too, but just one more thing is just that, you know, it was a week 1 sample size, Kev. So let's not just forget about how much of an asshole Sean McVay has been about this running back situation, naming Malcolm Brown the starter on game day. And it, you know, who's to say that they won't just come out this week and be like, oh, okay, well, you know, Malcolm Brown isn't getting it done, so I guess we'll try Cam Akers, you know, and see if we can get him loose, because they said all offseason that this was going to be a committee. All offseason, we talked about that, and it was just week 1, and maybe they saw something that they liked with Malcolm Brown. But, like, fuck that situation. I'm not going to be trusting that.
We're going to revisit this. I cannot wait to revisit
James Conner.
I will see you on the DFS show on Thursday, and we'll revisit this and have a conversation about it.
Tune in.
Patel wants to know Ertz or Goddard. And I wouldn't even want to roster both of those guys, but who are you guys going to go with here between Ertz and Goddard?
Don't overreact to week 1 for me. Still going Ertz.
Oh, my God. That's just such a tough situation.
Yeah.
It's getting close, though.
Here's another situation where you trade one of them.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, you gotta like what the rapport is with Ertz there. With Carson Wentz has been a security blanket for so long. I do think that Goddard is carving out a role, and I do like, you know, getting some exposure to Goddard for teams that are thinking about, you know, you have Kittle out or whatever, and you want to play Goddard. That's fine, but when you have Ertz on the team, you go with Ertz.
Different team, one of the same names, Ertz or Ingram. Kev, who you rolling with between those two?
Zach Ertz.
Robbie's shaking his head yes. Ryan, what do you have a difference of opinion here, or are you also rolling with Ertz?
I might as well just plant my flag, and Robbie is just telling us that Golden Tate's active. So let me go Ertz here.
Need 2 out of these full PPR: Anthony Miller, T.Y. Hilton, DJ Moore. Obviously, we're locking in DJ. What are you guys doing between Anthony Miller and T.Y. Hilton? Ryan, I'll throw that right back to you with your boy Anthony Miller there.
Yeah, well, and also saying that people are saying Moore has a bad matchup, and I don't necessarily believe that. When I was working on my article there and looking at the PFF grades, like, yes, I think it's Dante Jackson, or not Dante Jackson, excuse me, that's Mike Evans, but I believe, you know, I think it's Carlton Davis that he'll see on the other side, and I don't really think that is necessarily a bad matchup at all. This Tampa Bay team, we've been able to attack them, you know, through their pass funnel and target wide receivers against them. So I wouldn't necessarily say that is true, but digress. I would start TY and DJ Moore as the two there, even as much as I, love Anthony Miller this week. But those are two guys there with the TY and DJ Moore, who I think are in good spots and definitely present a way higher upside.
Johnny Maz wants to know John Brown or Zach Moss half PPR. And I think those hands are praying because you don't feel great about either of those. I guess I'll go John Brown here, but like I would not feel great about either of those.
I would go Zach Moss, hoping that he's able to see some targets there, in half point PPR. But yeah, man, I mean,
do you have any other options?
Do you have any other options? Exactly. Yeah, damn. I don't. That's tough for me. My gut says Zach Moss, but John Brown, if it's half point, I guess maybe makes a little bit more sense.
No Name wants to know Sanders still in the IR slot, so they need to drop somebody to bring Sanders up. Either Gesicki, Judy, Rager, or Kelly in standard scoring. I mean, I think this is the actual answer here. You drop one of those defenses, you shouldn't be carrying two defenses. So between the two, yeah. Bears defense or the Saints defense, which one are you dropping so they can pull up Sanders? Bears.
Yeah, that's tough. I think I like the Saints matchup a little bit more. Probably drop the Bears. I wouldn't drop any of the wide receivers there, the flex options.
No, there's not anybody there who I feel like you have to drop or is drop worthy anyway. My boy Rich is joining us on Facebook. Fournette or Cohen, Shepard or Watkins? Robbie, who you rolling with out of the running backs? You going Fournette or Cohen there?
Man, gosh, that's tough. I really do think Fournette will find the end zone, but if he doesn't, I just don't think he'll. If this is PPR, I think you got to go Cohen. Very tough. If he can hit us up, I think. Well, I'll say it. If it's PPR, I'll go Cohen. If it's standard, I'll go Fournette with that touchdown upside. And then on the other side, I'll go Watkins with that upside. Shepard. We're talking about these Giants, and there's just so many options, and I don't love the matchup anyways. He's not a down the field guy. Give me Watkins as a higher ceiling guy.
Ryan, who you got out of those matchups there?
Yeah, I think I would take Watkins too of that latter pick with the ceiling and just he's tied to Mahomes. You gotta love that in that matchup there. Fournette or Cohen, that it does get a little bit tough there for me. I'm apt to say Cohen. I just feel like he will be on the field more, and I don't want to have to tilt, whether it's Fournette or Ronald Jones. So give me Cohen, who is pretty much the wide receiver 3 in some instances when you think about it for the Bears.
You guys, we're getting sucked back into the Sammy Watkins in week 2 trap that happened last year.
Jesus.
It's gonna be different this year. You just wait and see.
I swear
this is the year.
I've changed, I swear.
JP rocking with us on YouTube wants to know, having a hard time picking 2 wide receivers in full PPR. Another McLaurin debate: Metcalf, Campbell, Chark, Gallup. I see why you're having a difficult time. I'm going to put Gallup in for me. He's going to be one of my picks out of here. Not sure if you guys agree or disagree, but who would be your 2 out of these? Gallup is in there for me for sure.
Gallup and Chark.
Yeah, I'm really close on F1 and Chark. I can go either way. You can literally talk me into either side. I'll probably lean Chark. I have him 2 spots higher in the wide receiver rankings. And then, yeah, Gallup just has a plus matchup. You need to attack that. And I don't think we've talked about it that much, but Tyron Smith obviously out left tackle. They're going to be bringing in Cam Irving, who is just a revolving door. And then they're going to have an undrafted rookie starting on the right tackle. He'll get a second start. So Dallas on the edges is just going to be not looking good. So I think this could be a game where maybe they're playing catch up because they just couldn't protect Dak early.
Yeah, that I thank you, Robbie, for bringing that up, because I wanted to kind of touch on that from just Cowboys, especially with me being a DFS player too, and the Cowboys looking like chalk of the week there in that game. So I'm definitely tempering my expectations from the Cowboys with Smith being out, and like you said, Robbie, the other tackles being out too. I think they have 3 total that are going to be out. So yeah, I guess you could feel confident with Gallup there, potentially, but I would lean Chark and McLaurin, to be honest, if I was setting that line.
Chris B, Deontay Johnson or Ayuk? I'm going Deontay there for show. Anybody rolling with Ayuk in his first game?
Kev?
I mean, I love Ayuk, but yeah, in that one I'm going Deontay.
Another one from Chris: Ronald Jones or CeeDee Lamb? Robbie, this is right up your alley here, bud. Who are you rolling with between these two? The Dallas Homer and the Rojo Truther.
Man, these are great matchups for both. I mean, we just talked about, and Ryan, thanks for pointing that out. Cam Irving is also out. So I honestly, as a Cowboys fan, I do not know who we're rolling out there at our left tackle, and that is very scary. Man, you got to think that that's going to help. I think the Cowboys want to get CeeDee Lamb more involved. They had 10 targets to Cooper in a tough matchup. I think that they do better when they spread the ball around. So I do think CeeDee Lamb sees more targets this week, but it's tough not to love Rojo with the work that he got last week in a plus matchup. I'll probably lean Rojo, but you're good either way. I like them both. Find a way to start them both.
Kev, who are you rolling with between those two? Are you going Rojo or are you going CeeDee? And
Earth to Kev
on pins and needles.
He's still looking up Malcolm Brown stats, I think.
No.
He's trying to find a way to...
He better have been placing a bet.
Setting lineups.
CeeDee or Rojo?
Rojo.
Got another Rojo question here from Justin T. Half PPR flex: Rojo, Monty, or Manny?
Rojo.
Ryan, who you got?
Montgomery. Montgomery, then Sanders if it's half PPR, then Rojo. I saw somebody say in the chat about, just we don't have any Sanders love this week. And I do because Michael Thomas is not going to be out there. It's just I want to temper expectations when I'm looking at, what my other options are. And if I feel, that I can get, productive work from those other guys, I'm going to tend to go there.
One more David Montgomery question on this, another flex question. Monty, Marquise Brown, or Corey Davis?
Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
I like Marquise this week. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Marquise Brown, wheels up.
Yep, that's a clean sweep there. Alex FFB Raider joining us on Periscope through Twitter. Paris Campbell, Slayton, Corey Davis, non-PPR. Man, a lot of Corey Davis questions this week. Who you guys rolling with these three in a standard? Campbell, Slayton, Davis.
Non-PP. Oh, go ahead, Robbie.
I was just going to say the exact same thing as you. Non-PPR. I think you like Paris Campbell because you think he'll get a lot of catches short from Rivers. So if it's non-PPR, I think that kind of takes his top off. There's a case to be made for Slayton there as the high ceiling guy, but just I might trust Corey Davis more. I think he's got that week one overreaction to week one, but with AJ Brown out, I might just go with Corey Davis there.
Yeah, I was going to say even with Tate being active, I still like Slayton because it is non-PPR. I think Corey Davis would get the slight edge for me in PPR formats. But I do agree, Robbie, like if they get into situations where they're in the red zone and, Henry's not getting it done, like it's Corey Davis or Jonnu Smith who's going to get looks.
Varsity 42 wants to know Melvin Gordon or Nyheim Hines PPR. That for me is Hines.
Yes, PPR Hines for me too.
Yep.
Oh,
Got a
thank
true
you.
Got a true
No, that
polar
would be
bear.
Malcolm Brown.
Hey, put him on mute. Set your lineups.
Got a true polar bear in the YouTube with us. Evan Ingram or Hayden Hurst.
Definitely Hayden Hurst.
Finally, we get a Hayden Hurst question.
I know. I've been waiting on
Yes.
some Hayden Hurst questions.
Hayden Hurst.
Ryan, go off here. What do you have to say about Hurst?
Well, just that, even despite only seeing 5 targets last week, and Russell Gage saw 12, which is definitely tilting. But this is just, and Robbie, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this is a great matchup for tight ends here. They got defensive issues within their front seven, 2 linebackers who are going to be out. I feel like Hayden Hurst is going to be relied upon in the middle of the field. Just Matt Ryan, over the course of his career, he's loved the tight end position so much. In a game that's going to be high offensive scoring, I just feel like Hayden Hurst is going to pay off dividends this week for people who start him.
Yeah, and I agree. Obviously, with the linebacker issues that they've had, and they haven't had great safeties since Darren Woodson. I think a tight end matchup is really good. I would note, though, the Cowboys are notoriously bad against the slot. This is not an anti-Hayden Hurst, but this is just another Russell Gage point, if I can put it in. Going back just last week, obviously Robert Woods 6 for 105, but going back to last season, Steven Sims 5 for 81 and a touchdown. Greg Ward 4 for 71. Cole Beasley 6 for 110 and a touchdown. Edelman 8 for 93. So I mean, if we're talking
Nice.
DFS, I think he's like 4,400 on DraftKings or somewhere in the mid 40s, 4,000 range. I think Russell Gage needs to be started. I have him way above consensus. I have him as a wide receiver 36.
Yeah,
So-
4,800.
With just real quick with Hurst, like I wasn't as high on him at the start of the week, and then actually I started having I did some research last night after I was helping Ryan out with his excellent DFS video he put together and why he was on Hayden Hurst. But there's a lot to like with Hayden Hurst. I mean, even he was number 1 last week in routes run among tight ends, which is one of the most important aspects for any tight end when you're looking at if you should play them or not. He was number 1 in air yards. Always follow the air yards with tight ends. Last week, and he also was number 2 in slot snaps. He played ran from the slot 46% of the time as well. So, with your point to them struggling against the tight end. So, yeah, I mean, it's wheels up this week for Hayden Hurst. Like, this is a smash week for him, and there's only about 4 tight ends I think that I'd rather play than him this week.
We're expecting the Falcons to score 50, I think, on my Cowboys. So it's all been said. Start all of the Falcons.
Goddard or Hawkinson PPR. Another tight end question here to follow that one up.
Hawkinson.
It's tempting to chase those points with Goddard, but Hawkinson without Galladay, I think you need to go Hawkinson.
Agreed there. Bruno wants to know, would you go Paris Campbell, Scotty Miller, or Samuel L. Watkins?
I would go Campbell. I guess it depends if it's PPR or not, because I just love Campbell's upside in PPR formats. But I would be more apt to play Watkins, I guess, if it was a standard league, because of the big play upside that he has. But yeah, Campbell and PPR. Then I guess Scotty Miller, then Watkins. Oh, that's tough to have Scotty Miller over Watkins, but yeah, I have it just as he has. But standard, I would go Watkins.
Robbie, do you agree on that last one with Campbell?
Yes, absolutely.
Trey on YouTube wants to know 2 questions. Full PPR, Melvin Gordon against a stout defense, or James White failing at being the next CMC? We'll tackle that first one first. You going Gordon or James White in a full PPR?
I'd go James White.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't want anything. I don't want to have anything to do with that matchup with Gordon. Then
I think real quick, I'm not going to be the Melvin Gordon guy here because he's been my bust all offseason. But we saw Saquon Barkley salvage his game with receiving work, and I do think Melvin Gordon can get that receiving work. I don't think he'll get much on the ground, but I will go James White, but if you're really in a tough spot, I do think Melvin Gordon will get some of that receiving work.
The next question Trey has: Big Ben or Wentz at the QB spot? Obviously, Denver's dealing with. They have AJ Bouye, who is on IR. They have some other injuries there on defense. Obviously, you're going to roll with Big Ben going up against the Broncos, or are you going Wentz here with the Rams?
It is encouraging that Wentz will have his offensive line healthy. It looks like and back, and he'll definitely need that against this Rams front seven, who should be wreak havoc just like the Washington football team did. But Big Ben at home against this Denver matchup, like you said, Cody, with AJ Bouye being out and the injuries that they have on defense, he should be able to have his way here. And looked, very, very good on the road against the Giants last week. I don't, see any way that does not repeat.
Full PPR question here from Jackson: James Conner, Nyheim Hines, or Marvin Jones? Robbie, who you rolling with there between those three?
Man, that is difficult. I might be tempted to go Marvin Jones. I think he has a much lower floor than Connor. But I think of all those guys, if we're talking full PPR, Marvin Jones can have a Marvin Jones game and go off and really, really provide you good value there. It's going to be Marvin Jones or Connor. I need someone else to weigh, and that one's tough for me.
I would go Marvin Jones there. That game looks like it's going to be a shootout. With you want to talk about defensive injuries, look no further than Detroit. Hey, rookie, welcome into your first game. You were injured all week. You don't have True Font on the other side to help you out. Here's Devontae Adams. Have fun. Like that game is that they're going to be playing from behind. So I'm going to go Marvin Jones there, even though he disappointed last week. I will go back to that well with Marvin Jones.
That's the same for me. I would go Jones, then I would honestly go Jones, then Connor, then Hines. I know it's appealing to take Hines there with Rivers. He loves to pass the ball to his running backs, but Hines saw 8 targets, but Taylor saw 6 targets as well to go along with that. So they've been able to have a full week to game plan with Taylor being the starter. He could see, more work, and then Hines could just be in there to spell him.
Got another Hines question here from Emery. Wants to know, needs 2 full PPR: Montgomery, Hines, or Devontae Parker? I'll take the 2 running backs.
Yeah.
Yep, first 2.
Yeah, same. Yeah, as I'm saying that he'll be spelled. That's just how much I don't like Parker this week.
Correct. MN Sizzle wants to know, John Brown or Corey Davis? I will go Davis there.
I think Davis is way safer.
Yep,
so.
Corey Davis.
It's like another clean sweep, rather. Mark wants to know, John Brown, Cortland Sutton, James Conner, Nyheim Hines, or Malcolm Brown at flex. So I guess he just needs one of these.
If you're asking Kev, it's Malcolm Brown. If you're asking the rest of us, I'll go James Conner.
Ryan, who you got there?
Well, definitely not Malcolm Brown. No, flex PPR. Yeah, I'm gonna go Connor. I'm in on Connor. The other guys are just what the heck for me at this point.
This will be another one where we are all split. I'll also join the Malcolm Brown side with Kev. So if you're in the YouTube chat, break the tie here for us. I mean, for me, I'm not considering those receivers because of the matchup they're in. Nyheim Hines, is he going to be as involved? That remains to be seen. So for us, it's obviously coming down to Connor and Malcolm Brown. We have this is a 2v2 here. So if you're rocking with us, drop your comment and break that tie for us, because me and Kev are going Malcolm. The bottom 2 are going Connor there. Manny Fresh.
We need some skin on that.
I think Kev is sending you his head-to-head right now with just it is just one position. It's just going to be
1v1.
It's just going to be Malcolm versus Connor. Manny Fresh is rocking with us. Ingram, Davis, or Edelman in a standard? I might go Corey Davis there.
Davis.
Mark Ingram.
Ryan, who you going with between Mark Ingram, Davis, or Edelman in a standard?
Ingram in standard.
All right, guys, we are wrapping up here. Kev has obviously been setting his lineups this entire time, so he's fine. So he doesn't need to worry about anything. But the other three of us here, we have some lineups to set with the injuries and everything that are coming out. I want to set some props, so we're going to go lightning round here. PJ Fleck, go for great. PJ Fleck is joining us. He wants to know Gordon over Hilton, Gordon over Hines, or Hines and Hilton in the flex. So Gordon, I think, is out for us. Are you guys rolling with Hilton or Hines here? That's what that comes down to me. Robbie, I'll give you that, and then we're going to move on to the next one.
I think he can pick two. Hines and Hilton was his last question. Yeah. So I think it's pick two. I'll go Hines and Hilton.
Perfect.
Same.
Okay, I'm going to throw this next one to you. Ray Gamer wants to know Chark versus Titans or Cup versus the Eagles in a standard.
Cup.
John Hansen, PPR, 2 of the 3 is needed. Ryan, I'm going to come here with you for this one. 2 of the 3, McLaurin, Lockett, or Manny?
Of course, I get the Manny question, but McLaurin and Lockett would be those guys for me, PPR.
Robbie, Doc wants to know Watson versus the Ravens or Rodgers versus the Lions?
We talked about can you sit Watson this week. This would be a matchup where if you went 2 early quarterbacks, I would go Aaron Rodgers in this one.
Kev, coming to you, MC Raven 747. MVS or Tariq Cohen? Are you trusting Valdez Scantling after that one game?
I'd go Cohen.
Ooh.
Wow.
Okay. Wish we had more time to talk about that because I think you're wrong, but we'll move on here. Ryan, going to come to you with this one. John Hansen back. Oh, no. We already got to that one, did we? Or is that the same?
It might be.
Yeah.
It's the same person.
Just jumped in on YouTube. Still going to come to you with this one. Another Corey Davis question. Crescent Cannon wants to know Corey Davis or Devontae Parker?
Corey Davis. Plant the flag.
Kev, I'm going to throw this one to you. You were highest on Drake coming into the season. Do you like Drake this week?
Yes.
There we go. One last one. We'll kind of end on some talk here with Saquon Barkley. What are you doing with Saquon? Are you worried at all? Bruno wants to know. Do you think that was just a matchup thing, or do you think is there any reason to worry?
This is like Saquon Barkley's smash week, I think.
Yes.
I think he can crush this Bears defense.
Yeah, I do want to say that I'm tempering expectations now because Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn are both active. I was way more excited to play this when they popped up on the injury report. However, they are banged up. So I think they do try to get Saquon right in this spot. The Bears front seven is nowhere near as talented as a whole unit as what the Steelers have going on right now. And it pains me to say that, but I think Saquon Barkley, you're fine. Like there's no way in hell that I'm not starting him this week if I don't have him. I definitely temper expectations, but you should be okay in this matchup.
Yeah, I know the Giants had a couple rough matchups to start the year. So if you're able to, absolutely buy him low if you can do that after this. So we appreciate you guys jumping in. If you have any other questions as we are leading up to kickoff here, you can hit us up on the DMs on Twitter at @FF_authority. You can also find us on Instagram. You can slide into the DMs there. Our DMs are open. Slide in, ask your questions. You can find us on Instagram at the Fantasy Authority. We appreciate you guys. We will be back next week. Kev and I will be back tonight giving you the early look at waivers. And then all week we're going to have a bunch of content coming from you guys, video form, written form, through the podcast as well. So make sure you guys are plugged in. We appreciate you checking in. Love the interaction, and have a good week too, and best of luck.